Welcome to Good for Bitcoin, a weekly show recorded live every Friday, where we recap the top events of the week and talk about everything that is good for Bitcoin. If it's built on Bitcoin, then it's good for Bitcoin. Let's get started.
Content shared on this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It does not constitute financial, investment, or legal advice. The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guests and do not reflect the official policy or position of any other agency, organization, or company. We encourage you to conduct your own research and consult with a qualified professional before making any financial decisions.
Well, hello, and welcome to Good for Bitcoin. We have so much to get into this week. Oh my gosh, what a crazy week. Good for Bitcoin week, I would say. My name is Brandon, social media manager here at Trust Machines. We have our two co-hosts, Longstreet and Kate. Happy Friday to you both.
Happy Friday.
GM. Hope you guys are doing good.
Doing great. Yeah, it's been a very good week. Sean, how was your week?
It's been fantastic. Definitely good energy again. What have you guys lined up here? I'm looking at the Good for Bitcoin document thinking like, how are we going to get through all this? I'm really excited to talk about it all.
Yeah, so much. Kate gave a little bit of a preview in the Leather Discord this morning for anybody that has not seen the news yet. The Leather Discord is back, which is very exciting. Kate, I don't know if you're able to maybe pin the tweet or if you want to talk a little bit more about the Discord. Would love to hear what people might be able to expect there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll share that here. We just wanted to have a space where we can talk to you more on the daily, talk about some fun projects, things going on, see how we can work together more and just create more leather lore. So we'd love to have you join us there. We already have some fun combos going on, and we'll just share like any events, quests, anything going on leather-wise or Trust Machines will be shared in the Discord. So please come join us.
Leather lore. I love any alliteration. We have leather lounge and leather lore and all the all the leather alliterations. Please keep them coming. We had a really great conversation yesterday with most of the folks at Gamma, because we did have a nice little recording from Brett as well. But Longstreet hosted that show yesterday with Kate, and it was a really fantastic conversation. Sean, I don't know if you want to give a little recap for those that might have missed the show yesterday.
Sure. Yeah, it's worth checking out the whole show, I think, because I'll just share like a few highlights. So Gamma, as most people are aware of, they are very creator focused. They support artists. They meet their needs by offering L1 and L2 support. So on Bitcoin through ordinals, through their Prince program, and through Stacks. And their summer pass holders now have access to the new site, which allows you to merge your Bitcoin and Stacks wallets and profiles. So I think a lot of listeners and people in here are summer pass holders. So it's been nice to see that new platform. In addition to highlighting just the lengths that they go to support their artists and community and innovate, there were a few key points that I think have been so pivotal to their success. And one of those is the Prince program. So it was great to hear from JNAP talk about how they designed this like HTML wrapper so that you can have an ordinal, but then you can say like, I'm going to release a certain number of prints. And it was a brilliant way of solving for the high fees that were on Bitcoin back in the day when like we were seeing 50, 100, 500 sats per VByte. But people still wanted to release art and collect art. So the Prince program was brilliant. And also their Gamma Partner Artist program. It's a real masterstroke when it comes to inclusion and diversity in artists and their different styles of art. So I love how they have built out the Partner Artist program too. And Sarah had I really like what she said about the importance of authenticity in artists. So yeah, between Brett with his fantastic recording as he always does, Brett, Jack, and Sarah, they really did a fantastic job outlining a little bit of like the backstory, how Gamma got started, how they have been solving problems and creating solutions for artists and collectors. And it was a great conversation. We had a really blast. We had a fun time at the end talking about some Stax rugs as well.
Yeah, that rugs conversation was pretty funny. I don't know that I've experienced any myself. I was talking in our group chat, and I mentioned that I don't know. I feel like whenever I buy like an NFT, I don't really expect anything in return other than just it to show up in my wallet. As long as it's in my wallet, I'm happy. But yeah, it's interesting to see. Maybe they're promising some sort of utility, or that's I feel like that's such an overused word in this space. But yeah, to see a collection mint out and then just the creators to just abandon it immediately, that's got a sting for folks that wanted to really support them.
Truly, even if project founders had all the best intentions, sometimes it still happens.
Yeah, I do have to say I do really love their Gamma prints program that they have. I have collected so many of them ever since they launched it, and it's a really wonderful way to support some of the artists that are on there. And I just really agree with what you said about Gamma, and just in terms of they really do support artists and creators, and they have such a white glove approach when it comes to bringing artists onto the platform.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love what they're doing over there. It's amazing.
I love to see all of the comments. People were just saying how beautifully everything is laid out on their platform too. So just really love to see that. I think it's like such a great display of the fun art that's getting shared there, but just their whole platform was just very beautifully laid out. So very good kudos to their team on that.
Definitely. Yeah. They're one of those groups that pivoted to ordinals really elegantly and quickly from the Stax ecosystem. We probably mentioned this before, but when Ordinal Theory was released and this mad dash to ordinals started happening and people were spinning up their nodes, it was a lot of people from Stax who are already really open to building on Bitcoin, very tech heavy, and they moved quickly. Like Ordinals Bot, especially, they were from the Stax as well, and they have the PF. What are some of the PFP collections? Satoshables, right? So they pivoted quickly. They're another one of those Stax groups that then pivoted quickly to ordinals as well.
Yeah, I think it was Ordinals Bot was sort of the first tool that released that you could, sort of like a self-serve tool, right? Where you could go on and inscribe. And I think it was like the next day Gamma released their tool to allow you to go on and inscribe. So those two were really just neck and neck in terms of supporting ordinals very, very early on. And yeah, it's just been really cool to see their growth there. I especially, this new kind of redesign is really kind of merging kind of the L1 and the L2 together, which I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of, which is very exciting. One with SBTC, which we have a lot of SBTC news to talk about on this show. But just in general, I think when we look at some of the things that are going to be coming with Lether, for example, right, kind of merging L1 and L2 together, we already kind of do that in some ways, right? You scroll down on Lether and you can see your collectibles, and you see a combination of both your Stax NFTs and your ordinals and your Bitcoin stamps and all the things all in one spot. So, that really kind of aligns with what we're doing at Lether, and, more to come there in terms of being able to easily kind of bridge, between L1 and L2. I know our team is doing a lot behind the scenes to prep for all these really fun big launches that are coming right around the corner. So yeah, just really cool to see, that Gamma is basically doing that as well, right? And they're just trying to kind of abstract away the layer conversation and just display some really good high quality art from some really amazing artists.
Definitely. Yeah. Well said. With abstracting away some of the tech heavy side. I selected one little clip that Nick had where he was talking about that. So Yeah, there's one. It's on the podcast, as is Good for Bitcoin, but I do have a nice little succinct clip um, of Nick talking about that.
Yeah, and that is a good plug for, for this show as well. We have both Good for Bitcoin and Leather Lounge wherever you get your podcasts now. So if you cannot listen live, maybe you're already listening on it right now and we're just talking to you directly. So thank you for listening to us on your favorite podcast platform. Make sure you give us a rating there as well. We would highly, highly appreciate it. We have a lot of news to get into, so I don't want to waste too much more time. But for anybody that is in the audience listening right now, thank you so much for being here, first of all. Second of all, we would love if you could retweet the space just to share it out and tell people about all the things that we're doing here on Good for Bitcoin, because we have just a lot of fun things to talk about today. So let's get into it. First thing, probably one of the bigger news stories in just finance in general of the week was this U.S. Federal Reserve cutting rates by 50 bips. That was a pretty big deal. It's the first rate cut since March of 2020. So, that really has seemed like it's triggered this pretty big just macro kind of setup. I feel like a lot of things have been going up, since that happened at the beginning of this week. Crypto, Bitcoin included. But I saw Longstreet that you had a shout out here you wanted to give for the 50 bips.
Yeah, definitely. So yes, this was like, okay, so we kind of knew a rate cut was coming, but then the question was, okay, is it going to be 25 or is it going to be 50 bips? And I was listening to the Hell Money podcast, and Aaron was anticipating that this would be 50 basis points, and this was in the stars. So that's what she was expecting. So I wanted to shout out Aaron from the Hell Money podcast for calling it.
Yeah, we love Aaron. We love Casey, obviously, as the Ordinals creator. Aaron is fantastic as well. Have had several chances to meet them in person and chat with them, and they're just really great people. So shout out to those two. Definitely, subscribe to their podcast as well. I guess we can give them a shout out for Hell Money, because that is also a really good hour or hour and a half to listen to.
Truly. You know what I really appreciated about their recent show was they had a conversation about like what is ethical in crypto. Like, is it ethical to make money in crypto, basically? And I really liked that, one, they were asking that question, and two, that they talked about it. So maybe that's all I'll plug about it, but I sometimes have these questions as well, and it was nice to see them talk about it.
Yeah, they definitely have some deep conversations and get into the weeds a little bit sometimes, and definitely appreciate that from them. It's pretty cool. I put this in here. I don't have like a ton to I guess talk, like I don't have a lot of opinions on it, but it was I guess reminded for folks that Binance founder CZ is set to be released from prison on September 29th. For those that maybe don't remember, he had this big kind of settlement, and then as part of that, he had to go into prison for 4 months, which was very funny because of his always, endless references to the number 4. So it was pretty funny, I guess, that he had just a 4-month sentence. But that's a pretty quick time, and he's set to be released in about 9 days here. And I think it's just going to be interesting to see kind of what he does next. He's no longer the CEO of Binance. So, we saw kind of something similar with Arthur Hayes, and all the stuff that came out of BitMEX when he kind of returned, right? And has been just a really, I would say, like a very positive force, in the ecosystem. So we'll just have to see kind of what CZ does, but I don't think he's going to be exiting crypto unless he's legally required to, not do certain things. But it's just going to be really interesting to see what he does in the space now that he's going to be free and, ready to build, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that it takes it. You got to be ballsy if you want to be a founder in the space, right? If you want to do new things, I mean, this might happen to you. You might get jailed or a hefty fine or something. So to be at the forefront innovating in the space does take bravery and leadership.
Definitely. Well, I'm gonna switch around a little bit here on some of the topics that we have. I want to get into this news that I thought was pretty cool. We can save this one for a little bit later on in the conversation. But
Nice.
The country of Bhutan has now been revealed through another Arkham Intelligence dashboard to they own over $750 million in Bitcoin. That number has probably gone up this week since Bitcoin itself has gone up quite a bit this week. But yeah, let me just read it off here. So the Bhutan government now owns over 13,000 Bitcoin. Unlike most governments, like the U.S., like we've talked about, on the show, like Germany did, or used to, Bhutan's Bitcoin does not come from law enforcement asset seizures, things like that. It actually comes from mining operations. So they're operating their own Bitcoin mining operation there under this investment arm called. And this basically puts them in kind of the top 4 among other nation states, according to data from Arkham Intelligence. So the U.S. actually very, very handily dominates this number. They have over 203,000 Bitcoin to their name. Second, you have the UK with over 61,000 Bitcoin, and now Bhutan has over 13,000, and El Salvador has over 5,800. So, we've talked a lot about this sort of arms race game theory, with nation states getting into Bitcoin, and just another great example of that. But it's very cool, I think, that they are very strategically acquiring Bitcoin, where in some of these other cases it was kind of just more seizures, and the governments are not necessarily very active, with Bitcoin, other than El Salvador, of course.
Yeah, I love that Bhutan is taking advantage of their natural resources because they have so much hydroelectricity that they can take advantage of. And as you mentioned, with these nations adopting it, all of a sudden some natural resources can give you a huge leg up, if it's geothermal or hydroelectric, for example.
It also makes you wonder, are other governments around the world silently stacking and just not putting out much press about it? But pretty cool to see.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. I mean, there has to be some, especially like kind of maybe smaller countries, like island nations, things like that. There has to be, and yeah, to your point, they're just maybe not being very public about it because they're just still trying to stack, and and they don't want to be, they don't want to reveal it yet. But yeah, I'm sure we will continue to see more news like this over time.
All right, do you want to get into the famous burger purchase?
Yeah, I saw this, and yeah, I want to, so basically, for those that maybe missed it, it was sort of revealed, or a lot of headlines were talking about the fact that Donald Trump has now become the first U.S. president to send Bitcoin or to make a Bitcoin purchase. He had a visit on his kind of tour at PubKey, which is in New York, which, for those that don't know PubKey, it's a pretty, in Bitcoiner, terms at least, a pretty famous bar. It's a Bitcoin themed bar that accepts Bitcoin and Lightning in New York City. And Trump visited the bar and made a purchase of some cheeseburgers. And they posted a video, and the video, for one, it's cool, right? We have a president, potentially the first president, making a purchase, but we don't know that for sure. I don't know. I had some questions, I guess, on the validity of some of it, and it was just kind of like an awkward purchase. Like if you look at the video, I'm kind of rewatching it now. This guy, he like hands Trump a phone to scan a QR code on an iPad, and then Trump can't do it, and then the other guy takes it from Trump and tries to do it, and then the guy holding the iPad takes the phone and tries to do it, and it's just awkward. And it's just, it really shows just the state of Bitcoin payments, that it's just not easy for anybody, right? You're at a Bitcoin bar and you have 3 guys trying to screw a light bulb together, and they eventually get it. So it's fine. But I just thought it was kind of awkward that it felt that painful for these three guys to figure out this Bitcoin payment.
It is truly funny to watch. I'm also watching it now, and it's a little bit painful, but hey, any Bitcoin transaction will take it.
Yeah, and I don't know if you can prove that it was the first president to do this. I think I tweeted, I was like,
Publicly,
yeah, exactly, maybe publicly. But yeah, I tweeted like, how do we know that Obama didn't like buy something on Silk Road? Like, who knows?
Right. Nah, it was Abraham Lincoln. I saw on the internet.
Well, anyway, we have we have a lot more to get into.
Couple things, the cool kid, the cool table at the lunch lunch spot, SBTC with Stacks.
Oh my gosh, so much SBTC news this week. So at the beginning of this week, it was announced that Stacks SBTC was integrating with Aptos, the Aptos network. And I, to be honest, I don't know a lot about the Aptos network, so I wanted to do a slight explainer for folks that maybe also don't know what the Aptos network is. It is an L1. It's an L1 blockchain that's basically known for its scalability, security, and the use of its Move programming language, which is designed for building secure and efficient blockchain applications. And I wanted to know, like, what does this mean for Stacks, folks? What does this mean for Aptos folks? So basically, this integration is going to allow SBTC to be utilized on the Aptos blockchain, which means that Stacks users can now leverage Bitcoin's security and value within the Aptos ecosystem, which supports a lot of high throughput applications like DeFi, NFTs, gaming, things like that. And for Stacks, the integration kind of enhances, just the ecosystem in general, right? We have additional networks that are getting on board with SBTC, which is very cool. It gives more avenues for SBTC usage. So maybe we'll see, number go up technology, with that, who knows? But also positions it as a key player for enhancing Bitcoin's interoperability. And on top of that news, that was kind of big news that was announced at the beginning of this week. Just this morning, it was announced that SBTC is also coming to Solana, and Manib announced this at Stack or at Breakpoint, which is a Solana conference, and that is very exciting, right? Solana is obviously a huge chain, and just the fact that we're seeing SBTC get integrated into, all these different networks, kind of makes it a worthy competitor to WBTC, which we've talked about has a little bit of controversy, with kind of who is holding the keys, I guess. And SBTC being a much more decentralized option is it's just a really cool setup for SBTC and for Stacks.
Truly, yeah. I feel like Stacks has been the small, quiet table in the lunchroom, sitting in the corner with a bunch of really smart people who are all just happy to be chilling, having their conversations, nerding out on whatever it is. And like most people are ignoring them, right? And then all of a sudden, they're getting all the attention. And now Solana and Aptos, they're coming over. Hey, what's that SBTC? Can I play with you? It's the popular table now.
Yeah, it almost feels like Manib was playing chess a little bit. I remember like a month or two ago, he tweeted out something about how he would hold Solana over ETH or something like that. And I feel like it's been just like a long game with him now. Like hindsight, I guess, looking back at some of the things that he's tweeted about. Maybe he was trying to kind of warm up to Solana folks with this announcement. But either way, very cool, to see this happen.
You have a good question in here. Will SBTC replace a wrapped Bitcoin?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to see, right? I'm sure there's going to be, plenty of dashboards and stuff once SBTC does launch, so we can kind of track that, right? Maybe that's going to be a new flippening to keep an eye on. So time will tell there.
I think it makes a ton of sense. Obviously there's CBBTC, which is going to have a natural leg up since it's through Coinbase. But I think that the flippening of SBTC over wrapped BTC, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think that might have to be a tweet. from Trust Machines. We'll see.
You
A
should
prediction.
tell a guy to do something.
Yeah. Moving on. So much stuff. This one was pretty cool, I thought. Louisiana, the state of Louisiana, is now accepting Bitcoin and stablecoin payments. So the Louisiana state government officially now accepts Bitcoin and crypto as a valid form of payment. That includes Bitcoin, Lightning, and USDC. Those three were listed specifically in the press release. And a provider, I wasn't familiar with this company, and it's kind of funny. They have a Twitter. Let me check right now. Their Twitter only has 4 followers. So this company called BeadPay is providing the infrastructure for it, to allow, I guess, kind of, some of the conversions and stuff behind the scenes to make this happen. So I don't know how they landed that deal with being a very, unknown company, I guess, in the retail space, with only 4 followers on Twitter. But congratulations to them. And the first crypto payment was made on Wednesday to the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries. So it is already a thing. So Louisiana is now accepting Bitcoin. And, again, going back to our talk about treasuries and nations accepting Bitcoin and holding Bitcoin on their balance sheet, we have, states as well that are doing this.
That's amazing. It reminds me, so early on, let's see, this was episode 8 of the Leather Lounge. We had Helio platform on because they had recently integrated with Leather. And they are one of these platforms that helps just convert, like anyone who wants to be able to accept any form of crypto as payment, they enable that. But they have like slightly more than 2 followers on Twitter. So it seems like we should, maybe they should get connected with Louisiana.
Yeah, maybe we should also get connected with BeadPay, right? I want Leather integration with Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries.
Collab of the year.
Yeah, that could be pretty cool.
Tell us about, is this Zach XBT?
Yeah, I sent this. So we talked about this. It was over a month ago now, and there wasn't a lot of information on it yet. But I sent you, for those that maybe missed the show, it was Zach XBT, who is a really prolific kind of security blockchain kind of researcher in the space that can do a lot of sleuthing to kind of find where funds are going and moving to. He posted this follow-up about this conversation that we had of a 4,000 BTC hack that happened. And it seems like the people that did the hacking were caught and were also really dumb with their money and the way that they were flaunting it. So it was about $230 million worth of crypto. And we had, at the time, we didn't have a lot of information about how it was conducted, but through all this sleuthing, now we kind of know that it was a very sophisticated social engineering hack. So no, the Bitcoin blockchain was not hacked, but people were hacked. It was social engineering, and basically it was this really complex combination of them, posing as Google support with fake phone numbers and resetting 2FA and installing remote desktop software on their computers to access their private keys. And what's crazy is I'll try to pin Zach's thread in here where he kind of outlines all of this. For whatever reason, these people recorded or like live streamed it happening, or them like doing the crimes, which is obviously not smart because that's like evidence, obvious evidence that these things are happening. So I'll caution, there's a little bit of profanity in some of these videos for those that go take a look at it. But basically these videos were used as you would think that they would be to find who did the crimes. It was funny, at one point, one of the people was using a version of Windows, and they opened up their start menu, and in the start menu you could see the person's name, like their username, which was just their name, like their full name. So very, very unsophisticated. But yeah, they thought that they kind of made off with over $230 million in Bitcoin and crypto. And they had that money, and then they used it to buy like these Lamborghinis and all this expensive stuff. And, in Los Angeles and Miami, and I think they were both apprehended in Miami. So they were in the US, and yeah, I mean, pretty crazy story. But nice to have, I guess, a little bit of closure, because that is a pretty significant size of Bitcoin. And I guess we'll see where that Bitcoin is going to go. Is that Bitcoin going to be returned back, or how does, is that now the US property, and the US now just stacked 4,000 Bitcoin through another, recovery of hacks? I guess we'll see what happens there.
So smart and yet so dumb. But hats off to Zach XBT. It's incredible what he can do.
Yeah, I'll try to find the thread here so I can pin it for folks to take a look. But we have a new segment that we're going to be doing on the show. Kate, do you want to introduce that for us?
Yeah, for sure. I found just some like fun stats as I was scrolling Twitter, reading up on some news, and I thought it'd be pretty fun to share here. So the first one that I have is about lost Bitcoin, which is kind of sad, but it's estimated that around 20% of Bitcoin is considered to be lost. So this means that, the owners don't have access to their keys, or is sent to the wrong address, or even the wrong network. So this is around like 2 to 3, almost 4 million Bitcoin that are considered in this category. I do know that there's speculation that, Satoshi holds about 1 million Bitcoin from early mining rewards, and this does contribute to this percentage. But I'm curious, do you guys also contribute to this percentage? Because I believe I do. A very small amount. But just, when you're first getting started, sometimes you lose, your seed phrase. And unfortunately, that means you lose access to your Bitcoin. So yeah, I'm wondering if you guys are part of this percentage.
I've actually lost all of my Bitcoin. I don't have any.
Boating accident, right? Yeah, I'm trying to think. I remember hearing about Bitcoin at a really maybe 2013, 2014. And I think I remember setting up a Bitcoin wallet and not doing anything with it. So I created a wallet, but never deposited or withdrew, or I didn't do anything with it, because I kind of realized at that point that there was not a lot that you could do with it at that time. So I think I do have some really old Bitcoin wallets. I don't know if over time there's been forks or airdrops or anything that would have ever happened to those wallets. I don't think that I have access to any of those really, really old things anymore. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I do. I don't know. That's a good question.
Well, if you never use it, then they're never lost. But it kind of leads to the next one. So this is less of a stat, but more of just a cool thing. So I think this morning there was 5 wallets from 15 years ago that are considered to be miner wallets, because they were receiving Bitcoin a few weeks after the network was launched. And they have started moving funds out of those wallets. So those are the first time that those wallets have seen action in 15 years, which is pretty cool to go back and see that happening. So just wanted to share that one.
That's pretty amazing. What diamond hands this person has to be holding on for that long. I think I wasn't sure if it was sort of an old story that was just kind of recirculating, or if it was a newer story, but I think I also saw this week that there was a guy who managed to sort of regain access to a really old Bitcoin wallet that he had created a long time ago. And it was encrypted with this weird software, but then I guess the software, and then he forgot the password. So seemingly he had lost it. But then I guess the encryption that was used was compromised. So then they were able to sort of break into the encryption and actually recover it. I'm not sure how much Bitcoin that was, or if that was even a very recent story. It might have just been kind of an old one that people were talking about. But that was one that I saw this week, and maybe this was him. Who knows?
Wow.
Maybe that was him.
I have a question. So this is the first time that I have seen the word Patoshi, and so this is at the bottom of that stack of the forever lost Bitcoin, 5.2% Satoshi slash Patoshi. Do you guys know what that is a reference to?
I have not heard of that
Yeah,
either.
that's a good question. Maybe if anybody in the audience knows and wants to come up and tell us or put it in the replies, feel free.
Jameson Lopp 4 hours ago said, 8 hours ago, a Satoshi era miner spent Coinbase outputs from block in the 2000s. None of these blocks fall into the Patoshi pattern, which is considered likely to be Satoshi's coins. I wonder where the name Patoshi comes from.
Is it like pattern Satoshi? Is it just like a combination of words? I wonder.
Yes, yeah.
It's a good question. Let's see. Looking in the comments here, the replies live on the show, we have Murph Dog who is saying when SBTC on stacks and Tether on stacks, and I know the question to one of those. SBTC, they were saying is going to come out roughly 2 stacking cycles after Nakamoto gets activated. Which, by the way, at the beginning of this week, I remember I think it was Manib that tweeted out that we should know by the end of this week, which will be tomorrow, the exact block that Nakamoto will be activated. So it's a bit of a moving target, but the launch of SPTC is supposed to happen around 2 stacking cycles after Nakamoto goes live and fast blocks go live. And I think they're still kind of finishing up with some testing and making sure that things are not going to break. But part of that is they just want to make sure that Nakamoto and the Stacks network are stable and go through a couple stacking cycles before they introduce this new big thing in the form of SBTC. So slightly kind of delayed, but intentionally delayed approach just to make sure that things roll out smoothly. And in terms of Tether being on Stacks, we'll see. I mean, we're going to need a stable coin. I feel like that is just the biggest. And to be fair, we do have some stable coins that are already on Stacks, but nothing certainly at the level of something like Tether. So yeah, I mean, time will tell, I guess, as the network continues to grow, as we continue, to see Stacks integrating with other networks like SPTC being on these networks like Solana and Aptos and maybe others. I'm sure that there's more in the works. That's just continuing to grow the network, right? So there has to be some big stablecoin coming in sometime in the future. As to when that is, I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah. I'm curious about Based. You've seen Stackatron's Based protocol, so a Stacks-based stablecoin, a US dollar.
Yes, yeah. So we see a few things that are being built. So Arcadico has one that they've had for a long time, probably one of the older stable coins that's on Stacks. I agree. It'd be very cool to have Stackatron on the show sometime in the future. To hear a little bit more from him. He's been on the show before with kind of more BNS. When I think of Stackatron, I think of Hank and I think of BNS. I just think of those 3 together all the time because they both came from Mechanism. But really interested to see what he's building over there. And Hermetica also has been talking about, bringing a stable coin once Nakamoto goes live as well. So definitely a few folks that are, working on stable coins, but, and no shade to them, but they're no Tether, right? So to have some big stable coin like Tether come in would be game changing. And I guess we'll just have to see what happens.
Good little plug for Hermetica there too, because they are our guest next week. Jakob will be joining us in the lounge again.
Wow, I didn't even plan that, but that's a fantastic segue. So yeah, we will have Leather Lounge every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern. And I don't know, I feel like that is maybe a wrap on the show. Sean, Kate, is there anything else you wanted to talk about or anything that you wanted to close with for this amazing week that we've had?
Kate?
I'll close really quick on the Patoshi stuff. It is a combination of the Patoshi pattern and Satoshi. So great guess, and that is why it is called Patoshi.
Well, one last shout out to I mentioned it at the top of the call, and we were talking about the Leather Discord. We have it pinned there. It's discord.gg/leatherwallet. Very easy URL to remember. So please go join our Discord. Talk to us more there. We'd love to have you, and expect a lot more fun things in the future. And until next week, we will see you next week. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. And everything is good for Bitcoin.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye. Touch grass.
Take care.
Thank you for listening. We record Good for Bitcoin live every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on X. Please follow us at Trust Machines Co. if you would like to listen and engage with us live. Visit us at trustmachines.co for all the latest Bitcoin news. We'll see you next week.